Hi guys, how you doing? I can actually turn my camera on. I was gonna go no cam, but I can turn it on. I guess let's change our title to something that's not no camera. Let's say... Okay, there we go. There we go. It's cheesy, but it works. Alright, what's our plan today? I have a Subnautica map, guys. Look at this. Look at this. I got a little map of Rooskies of all of our crashes so I can start checking off which ones I've been to. Also, I saw a lot of people's like bases on like Steam and stuff, and I feel like people have really crazy bases, and then there's me who's like doo doo doo. Hello, mine's very plain. Hello, hi. Alright, so I need to get more mushrooms. Okay. Alright, what's our plan? Here's our Johnny Depp right here. Charging.
Welcome aboard, Captain.
Welcome aboard, Captain. Trying here, thank you. Alright. What was our, like, what were we doing?
Welcome aboard, Captain. All systems online.
Aurora Rendezvous Point. What? Launch? Is that what that says? No, it's the drive. Okay. So that's... Hold on. South. Alright, we have to go back to Gun Island, which is north. DJ's right there. I have my thing in my packet, right, still? I do, okay. Let's just eat that, and let me eat that. Alright. Alright. So we have to go to Gun Island and turn on the teleporter? Question mark? I just don't remember if that's accurate or not. Alright, so on our way here, we should potentially pass some other shipwrecks. If I'm reading this map. Which I'm probably not. How was everyone's day? Guys, I'm tired today. Man, Mondays... And I have a lot to get done this week, actually. I have 2 sponsored streams that I have to squeeze in this week. One of them I absolutely have to do this week because it's on a time limit. And the other one I just want to do because I want to get it out of the way, you know? Sleepy day. Seriously, I literally, you guys are lucky I made it to stream because I straight fell asleep. I fell asleep on the futon watching TV. Like, I don't know why I'm so tired lately. And like, I'm also a little like disappointed in myself. Because like I said in Discord, I just don't have the energy and the mental capacity to like plan something fun for my anniversary stream this weekend. So like I'm just gonna stream and hopefully people will come hang out with me because like I literally just the thought of like trying to plan an event was stressing me out. And then it's like, oh my god, Raven. But then it's like just like the thought of I don't know, like I feel like nobody's gonna come if there's nothing for them to do and there's no incentives, you know what I'm saying? Like this is a big celebration stream and I'm like, no, I was too tired and my depression was too bad that I couldn't plan something for you guys, so come hang out with me, it'll be fun. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like I feel like you guys are gonna be like, no, don't stretch yourself too thin. I know, but like I love streaming and like I love planning these events and I love doing these things, but it was just like, just the timing right now is just not working for me. Like, I am just not good right now mentally. Something new, like a tier list or something? Yeah, I've got a couple days to think of it. So, like I said, I have 2 sponsored streams that I have to squeeze in this week.
Zaz Esquire just resubscribed for 21
21 months.
You take up so mushroom in my heart. You are such a fungi.
Zaz, thank you so much. Thank you for 21 months. Thank you for that amazingly corny dad joke that I love so, so much. But more importantly, thank you for everything. Thank you for the support. Thank you for retweeting all of my tweets. Just thank you for being... Just thank you so, so much for being there. Oh my gosh, Raven. Guys, don't make me cry. I'm tired today. Month by one, it did go by quick. Thank you for the oxygen, Goose. Zaz, thank you so much. Raven, thank you so much, guys. I'm really emotional because I'm really tired and like my depression's really bad and I'm just like really emotional, so thank you for continuing to watch my stupid stream and my stupid antics, and just thank you. I appreciate it. But come hang out this weekend. I have stuff planned this weekend. I have I have a couple things planned. Like I have games planned, but that's about it. Maybe I'll think of some fun stuff. Alright, is this entire shipwreck here? Is this what you're trying to tell me? But thank you very much, Raven. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate all of you guys. Hello? Tiger Plant's trying to spit at me. Alright, so I think I'm gonna count this. This wreck is done. You know, if you're waging a war internally, your streams are a safe place for all of us. Thank you. Thank you. Really, like, I don't want to cry over stupid stuff, but I really appreciate it.
The most fun.
Zaz, thank you so much. Guys, thank you. Don't be silly. You don't have to cheer and sub and stuff. I just want you to hang out. Alright, I think I'm gonna count this shipwreck as done. I don't see anything else. Does anybody else? Like, I don't even think that you can get in here, can you? Oh, you can. No, you can't. There's nothing in here. Thank you, Raven. I almost didn't go I almost went no camera today because I was just really not feeling good. I really wasn't in a good headspace. But I'm glad I decided to stream, first of all. Okay, let's actually do what we're supposed to be doing. Here's where we're going. Alright, so this is life pod number 6. Alright, so was I right? So is this life pod 6 right here? Yes. Okay, so this one's done. It's okay to not feel okay. Thanks, guys. It really means a lot because, like, I don't want you guys to... How do I say this? Like, I don't want you guys to ever feel like you need to be, like, on, you know, like, walking on eggshells or whatever, like, to worry about my feelings. When really, like, I'm just here to entertain you guys, you know? Not the other way around. I'm here For you guys' entertainment, more importantly. Raven. If you guys are trying to do the hype train, one other person has to do something, but I do appreciate it. Alright, so this isn't this shipwreck. This has to be... this one? This doesn't make sense. This doesn't make sense. This is not this shipwreck that's in this picture. Hi, Hui.
Wee woo.
Wee woo. Hi, thank you guys. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yeah, this isn't... this isn't the wreck that's in this picture. I'm really actually confused right now. Maybe it's not it. Oh, it's over here? Yeah, it's over here. Okay. That's so strange. Ow, that was my knee. But really, honestly, all cheese aside, just having you guys here, choosing to spend your time with me, choosing to spend your evenings here is really all I ask for. Alright, so I believe and I think I love. Can you stop hitting my thing? Stop hitting my car. I think I've done everything in here, but let's just double check. Alright, so I've gone in here. A Golbat in chat. Okay, so I've been in here because this is this, right? Oh wait, have I not?
New blueprint acquired.
Oh, okay. Where's my laser cutter? Okay, we're good on oxygen for a few more minutes. Maybe I haven't been in here. Damn. Oh, battery charger fragment? Yeah, I don't think I've been in here. Because this is all... this is all... yeah, see, look it. That's all stuff I was looking for earlier. That's funny. I can't move. I can't go anywhere else. Okay, I can't move out of there. Alright, and then this goes... Raven, thank you for the lurk. There's really nothing in here? Oh no, this goes down here. Oh wait, this is the other side of this? Yeah, this is the other side of this room. How much oxygen do I have? I still have oxygen. Just watch your oxygen. Go back, let's go! Let's go! Gen 1! Best gen! Gen 1, best gen! How come I can't go up there? Okay, fine. Okay, fine. Gonna run out of air. I barely touched that, but sure. There it is. Are you enjoying the game so far? I am, Zigzag. I am. Sorry, I was super zoning out for a second. I didn't want to drown. But I am, yes. It's been a lot of fun. There's storage in here. I don't think I have any storage left. Alright, I'm full. Alright, we're gonna showing back home. Drop all of our titanium off. Nope, that's not where we're going. We're going this way. We're going this way. I'm going to assume that you are a Subnautica fan yourself, Zigzag. Oh, I need to like go in there. I need to like go in those cave area and explore. Did you know there's a setting in the pause menu you could color grading that drastically changes how the game looks? Really? I imagine it's probably for people who have like some varying color blindness. But that's kind of cool. I didn't play with very many of the settings. Other than the crowd control settings, obviously. Stalker. Stalker. Makes the game look really vibrant. More vibrant than it already does? Because it looks pretty vibrant already. That's crazy. I feel like... I don't know, like, I feel like I have, like, a super missed opportunity with my base. Like, I've seen a lot of people have these insanely intricate, huge bases, and I'm just like, no, I just have exactly what I need. Color world, it's a pretty colorful world. Guys, what did everyone get into today? What'd you have for dinner? I had a meatball sandwich, and it was not even remotely enough food for my tum-tum. For my tum-tum. Alright, I've got all this extra salt still that I can't do anything with. I almost streamed something else today, honestly. I hit escape instead of tab on accident. I do that all the time, just if anyone thinks it's the most annoying thing in the world. I also think it's the most annoying thing in the world, and I can't stop doing it. I always hit escape instead of tab. I had a hot dog, and maybe it's how hungry I was, but it was delicious, really. So what do you know with the game's lore so far? So I went to the gun island. I saw the rescue ship get shot down. I am infected. I am returning back to Gun Island with my little green thingy, my ion cube, to turn the teleporter back on. I have gone to the Aurora twice now. I went the first time to get like all of the stuff for the prawn suit, and then I found the lifeboat that had like the important passenger in it, and he had the captain's quarters passcode. So I went back and I got the captain's quarters passcode. So now I've got the Neptune launch plan. So now that's as far as I like know what I'm doing now. So now I guess I'm trying to, first of all, I have to turn the teleporters on. and then I have to clear my infection, which I actually don't know how to do. I don't want help, but that's where I'm at right now, is I think I have to clear my infection, but I don't know how to do that. So we're gonna go back to the Lost River. See, I've got my Neptune launch platform now. And I've got, I think I have the actual Neptune, I thought. Is that in the vehicle bay? No, just the launch platform. Okay. Yeah, so I have to go, I'm gonna guess. What I'm gonna guess I have to do is I have to go back to the Lost River and go deeper into the, I think it's called like the lava place. So that's where we're at so far. So I've made my second trip to the Aurora. I know I'm infected. So I have to go back to the gun island eventually too and like test my infection. So I have to go back and I have to turn the gun off, but I don't know how to yet. There's a lot of, I know the basics of what I'm supposed to do. I just don't know how to do them or where to do them yet, but I'll figure it out. I'm having a hard time remembering where the other teleporter I found was. Like, I found 2 teleporters, but I didn't have ion blocks, and I don't remember where the second teleporter is, and I'm kind of annoyed with myself that I can't remember where it was. I watched a video today of the story of the forest, and wow. Wait, have you never played the forest, Aya? Because I'm sure you know, you've been around, but I just finished playing the forest, like in the fall. It was so fun. I haven't, never played it. Oh my god, I will play it. I love the forest. I love the forest.
Vital signs.
Yeah, people don't realize that there's a story in the forest. People don't realize there's a story in this too. Like, people are like, survival craft game. Cool, just survive. And it's like, no, there's way much more than that. Like, I'm excited because I bought, I showed you guys on stream yesterday, but I bought a bunch new survival craft games to play through this year that I'm excited for. All right, water, food. All right, let's go back to the gun. We're not gonna get distracted. We're gonna make it all the way there, and we're gonna hopefully turn on the teleporter. And I just pray that it wants to show me where the other one is, because I don't remember where it is, and I'm annoyed. I have a terrible, terrible, terrible goldfish memory. Even if I've like been playing a game for, you know, weeks, and I just don't remember where the other teleporter is, and I'm annoyed. I found it, but I don't remember. So hopefully, I think this should be the marker. If I look up, yeah, it should be it. I never finished Sons of the Forest either. Sons of the Forest was like getting lots and lots of upgrades though. So I kind of stopped because I was like, I don't want to keep playing it while they're actually changing it out from underneath me, like while I'm playing it at this exact moment. So I waited. I'll restart Sons of the Forest, since I'll most likely have to play it solo. I'll restart. Alright, can we see Gun Island yet? Barely. Barely. There it is. Okay. So, I'm gonna go run this side here. Okay. Okay. It seemed like the Sons of Forest story just abruptly ends, so I was wondering if I was going to get more. Yeah, I haven't even gotten there yet. I literally haven't even gotten anywhere close to where Sons of the Forest ends, so there's so many possibilities. Alright, the gun island has one of the teleporters in the cave in here. And then I can go back in and I can test my infection and all that stuff. I have to go that way. I have to go this way. Let's see if I can remember this. Ugh. Okay, follow the lights. Follow the lights. Follow the lights. There's the Aurora. Yeah, it was weird though because I felt like Suns, for whatever reason, like got unnecessarily difficult. Like they took like the forest and they were like, yeah, we need to like pump this up a little bit further. And so like Sons of the Forest is just like brutal. Like I remember spawning in with Yaga and they would just like wail on me into the point where it was like, all right, like I guess I'm not moving then because what am I supposed to do? Alright, so is this just gonna open the other side of this portal? Can I just go in here? Where does this take me, though? I don't remember. Why is it snot green? Why isn't it snot green? Right. There's nothing in here? Yeah, see, I just turned it on and there's nothing in here. I was right. You have to turn the second one on. Right? This is. 'Cause look. This is a different island. What island is this? Stuck. Right, so there's no... Yeah, see, I've been here. This is the... Yeah, see, this is the other one. Okay, so I was right. I was right that there was the second portal on the second island. I was right. Okay. So... Okay. Do I need to do anything on island number 2? Other than collect all the pieces from the things which I have. Also, how do I get back in this cave? More islands, more problems. That's true. Mark, how you been? There we go. Alright. Alright, so... teleporter's on. That's amazing, thank you. Okay, so I guess we'll just go back. So that teleporter's on. So it's only just these two? Am I remembering right? It's just two? Okay. Well, that's on now, so that's one thing done. Wow. Has there always been this much stuff in here? But okay, I'm liking Elite. Oh yeah, I've been seeing you play that. What is that? Can you... I feel bad when I'm like, explain what that is, but I feel like asking the person who's playing the game and currently enjoying the game to explain it to you is probably better than like looking it up on Steam. So explain to me what Elite Dangerous is, please. I'm just pushing buttons for new do things, but I'm just flying around space and spending money on space gas. So is it No Man's Sky-esque or like a different genre? No Man's Sky but harder, there you go. So it's a survival craft. So, oh yeah, guys. Like I said, I have some sponsor streams that I have to squeeze in this week. So I will be doing a bonus short stream tomorrow. Probably about 2 hours, unless I really end up liking the game, then I might end up doing more, but I have to do it for at least 2 hours. And then I will probably squeeze in another short, like 2-hour stream on Thursday or so, just because I have to get these 2 sponsorships in. Hopefully you guys are cool with that, because sponsorships means more games, guys. Sponsorships is big opportunities, even if they're not games that we would normally play on this channel. They're big opportunities. One of them is their survival craft game that I'm excited about. But one of them I think is like a fantasy style like MMO. I'm kind of excited for it, if I'm being completely honest. So tomorrow we'll do probably the MMO, and then Thursday we'll probably do the little cozy survival craft game, if that's cool with everyone. Because Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, it's party time, people. Yes, I know I'm infected. Okay. Let me look at my logs here. Okay, so I think I have to go there. I think I have to do this one, this one. Okay, so turn that one off. We'll turn DJs off for a minute. Okay, so I think these 2 I've got to go to right there. Okay. Okay. You don't do a lot of crafting, you don't think? Oh. I mean, that's okay.
Welcome aboard, Captain.
It's not necessarily like a make or break. Under the graphics, it's a lot of courier missions, space pirating, pirates and bounties, that sort of thing. Interesting. Get this, go here, and if your ship runs out of space, you need a friend to bring you some. Oh. Interesting. What is it called? Elite Dangerous. That sounds really cool. I like say like, oh, I need new games, but I don't. I need to start finishing games that I've already got, but why do that, right? Why do that? I think I've been here too. I think I've been this one. Thor talked you into it? You guys play a lot of games together, huh? Why finish a game when you can get new games? That's my life, Mock. That's my life. Why play one game when you can play all games and never finish any of them? Yeah, see, I've been in here because I got this already. All right. So we will mark off Lifeboat 3 off of our findings here. All right, Lifeboat 3 is where? Here? Life Pod 4. Life Pod 3. Check. Okay, right next to it should be Rec 17. It should be in the... Should be in the... what you call it in here? There it is. There's Rec 17 right here. Alright, anything in here? Do you got any secrets? You got any secrets? Oh, here's your secrets, I think, right here. Somebody is someplace they're not supposed to be.
Intake recommended.
You're not supposed to be there. Oh my god, you dropped a tooth. I killed you. Calorie intake. Oh shit. Okay.
Vital signs stabilizing.
Not often. While I'm at work, he's live grinding skins on COD, and when I get home, he's snapping until supper time. I don't get to play with him until the weekend. But he's off all summer. Ah, I see, I see. I'm sorry that you don't get time. I know that, I know you were saying on your Twitter that you were missing time with your friends, and I understand that. Okay. I just hate asking my friends and getting no response or feeling rejected. Yeah. Yeah. Admittedly, I have a terrible habit of, like, wanting to be asked because I want to be asked, but, like, not really, like, expecting, like, the pressure of, like being expected to play, you know? Like, a lot of people, like, I just want to be asked, even if the answer is going to be no, you know? So I think that that's why people don't ask, is because sometimes the answer is no, but I just like to be asked, you know what I mean? But I get it, I get it. I don't like being a bother, so... You just invest in some single-player games and live your life, I guess. Trying to center this perfectly. There we go. Oh, touched it. Okay, I'm pretty sure we've done this one as well. Whoop. Yeah, because there's nothing to discover in that one. What is that one? 17? Life pod 5. Which one? This is life pod 17. Life pod 13. 7. Wait, is it 7 or 17? Yeah, 17. Okay. Where the heck am I? 19. 13. Where the hell's 17? 2. 7. 19. 5. 4. 12. 2. 13. Wow, I'm actually... Oh, shoot. I'm actually really confused. Where the heck is this life pod? Five. 17. Okay. Okay. So, that's our home pod there. There's our base. Alright, let's go back and see if we have anything on the radio telling us what to do next. Otherwise, we're just gonna go back to the Lost River and see if we can go deeper. I used to play a lot like every day when I first got my PC. You get used to people and they disappear. Yeah. Yeah. Times change, friendships change, people change. It happens. As sad as it is, and as lonely as it makes you feel, it happens, unfortunately. Happens too often. And especially when you're like, because people are always like, you just gotta find a good friend. Like, you just gotta find good friends. Just, if you find a good friend, this will never happen to you. And like, that's only true to a certain extent. Like, it can still happen anyway. It can still happen even if you think you found your best pals. Okay. Alright, you know what I'm gonna do? This is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna pack up a shit ton of titanium in my thing, and I'm gonna build a couple base pieces below. Just a few. Welcome to nursing program. Great for them. Sad for Zaz. Oh, Zaz, I know. And that's when, like, you're like, you don't want to hold people back. Like, obviously, I didn't grab the titanium. I just looked at it. Oh my god, I'm so dumb. Like, obviously, you want people to live their best lives and be happy and whatever's best for them, but, you know, you're gonna feel a little sad about it, you know? You're gonna feel a little sad when people move on and do things. Like, I had the same roommate for years. Like, I mean, we lived together probably for about 8 years or so. Like, I had no intention of, like, ever moving out. Like, we were, like, things were good. And then suddenly she started dating her boyfriend, who is now her husband. And she, like, wanted to start her life, which, completely understandable, but, like, I wasn't ready to start my life. So it, like, screwed me over because I didn't have anywhere to go. I didn't have anyone to turn to. I didn't have anybody left. So, like, I feel that when, you know, you don't want to hold people back from bettering their lives and living their lives and doing what they want to do, but at the same time, you're kind of gonna be like, but me? But what about, like, but I'm sad. What about me? But it's not about you. It's never about you. recharging that. Okay. Let's replace everything. Two. Okay. Okay.
Seek fluid intake.
So. Okay. Nope, I forgot to check the radio. Bye, Tram. Bye, Tram. Radio? Nothing on the radio. Really?
Vital signs stabilizing.
Really? How is this not? Okay, that's enough water, I guess. It's fine. Okay, so there's nothing on the radio telling me what to do next. So that's very fun, I suppose. All right. Let's get... Holy shit, how are these so close to my base? Oh yeah, Raven gifted you a sub, Mark. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you silly gooses. Being nice to me and shit. Okay. Yeah, now you can use the cheese! You can have cheese! Okay. Okay. I don't have any goals, so I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. Sir.
Welcome aboard. All systems online.
Right. So. This one. Have made your night better than what I'm making mine? Why? Why do you say that? What's going on? What's going on? Just in the typical headspace. I understand. I know it doesn't help, but I understand. Comes and goes, yeah. Yeah. Especially like when the voice is very loud and not very kind is when it can really wear you down. Just gotta wait for the goes. Yeah. I'm sorry, Raven. I would say, like, I hope that, like, I can at least keep you some company and make it better, but you know, that does only go so far. You care a bit? It helps. I do care. I do care. I care more than a bit. But there's only so much that I can do from the other side of a screen, as you know. But I do my best to keep you motivated when you need a little extra push. You know? Not my typical space to just play a game. Oh, so you're... I see. I see. So we're really, really in a space now. If you're not even getting your relief of, you know, something to keep your... Oh my god. I was like, where did it go? Keep your mind occupied. It would be so wonderful if you just didn't bother me right now and just left me alone. That'd be so great. Going ham on 76, it's like a storyline. Yeah. I get that. I get that for sure. I'm not like worn out on 76 for sure, but I like was just trying so hard to get to 50 so I could start getting any sort of weapons or armor, you know, to do anything with. But yeah, I get that when you're like, all right, I kinda don't really have much left to do right now, so maybe you need, like, maybe you actually really need like a good story game, you know? Like maybe you need to find one. Like what happened with Cyberpunk? Were you not enjoying Cyberpunk? Zazzing for the lurk. Yeah, exactly. Like I'm not gonna like I think I wore some level 20 armor until I hit 50 because I was like, there's no point. There's no point in trying to, you know, min-max and stuff like that. Okay, we're gonna build a little small, maybe a little bit deeper. We're gonna build another small little base down here because going in and out is just gonna drive me crazy. All right, here's a shipwreck. All right, let's build over here. There we go. Right here's a good spot. Yeah, this will be fine for now. There's zappy boys. I hear them though. All right, let's do. Where's our foundation? Here it is. I never see the foundation for some reason. I don't know why. Oh, shit. Oh, I don't have lead. I can't build the foundation. Shit. What am I doing? Ah! Bro! Go away! I don't have any lead. All right, so we're gonna pause on this one here. Bro, actually, fuck off. Since I just sat free spirit to sat down and got lost in a game. Never tasted games, but I have the mental. I have 2 hours. I have 3 hours. I want more. So maybe just for now, you find one game to hunker down on and go from there, because if you try to focus on too many, or you're like, oh, I need to find a game, like, you're not gonna enjoy it because it's gonna be forced. And you don't want that. Okay. So I've got oxygen, but no power. That's fine.
Warning, emergency power only. Oxygen production offline.
Oh no, it's not. It's emergency power only. Okay. What do I need for this? I don't think I can make it right now, can I? Hold on. Nuclear bioreactor, yeah, see? And there's no way the solar panel will work. I know, I'm running out of oxygen. That's fine. That's fine. Okay. Let's go. Get oxygen in here. Okay. All right. Shit. Oh, shit. Okay, I have to think here for a second. Alright, this is the thing to make some aerogel with. Zappy Boy is just having the time of his life over here. Zapping in my ears. He really, like, wants to be involved. All right. Okay, let's go in here. Come on. Do you hear him zapping? Like, he really is obsessed with me. All right, now let's put some quartz in one of these. Okay. Let's put this in here. Put these for now. Put that for now. Okay. Johnny Depth. Yeah. We love a good pun. Wait, what? Oh, here we go. What is glass? Okay, hold on. What do I need for this? This. Gold and table coral. All right. There's gold right there, but I can't get it. All right. I need a beacon. There's a warper right there. You want to take a break from it all? Like online, or just gaming or streaming? Like, what do you mean a break? I mean, you do what you need to do, but like, are you gonna just disconnect from the internet entirely, or? Alright. Bro, why are you like coming at me like this? Relax. Alright. Be a pink, it'd be a Laz. Hey Laz. Outer Worlds is gonna be what I play. I hate using the S word in someone else's stream. Yeah, but I asked you. Like, it'd be different if you came in and you're like, my stream, my stream, my stream, my stream. Like, I asked you though, that's different. Some people come in and that's literally the only thing they're capable of talking about is their own fucking stream. And that's annoying. When, like, you have absolutely nothing else to contribute to the conversation other than about your own stream. But I asked you, so that's different. Outer Worlds would be my personal game. Hey Mock, have you heard about my stream? My stream is so hype. Not even that, but some people are just like, ooh, I want to talk to you about streaming while you're streaming. But that's the only, like I said, but if it's different if it's the literal only thing you can contribute, then that's annoying. Wait, you don't want to talk about my stream? I will always talk about your stream, Mock. But all you guys quit! All you quitters! Alright, I'm gonna use my own points because I need a marker right now. Whoop! You guys can't see that. Don't look at it. It has fish. It does have fish. Okay. I know that's annoying, but I don't care. It's cheating and I don't care because I need it. Alright. Base. 4. Okay. Because otherwise I'll never find my shit. Delete it. Nope. My stream. My stream. Alright, I need to repair my ship in the safety over here before this other zappy boy comes over here and fucks my life up. Like that. I found out there's a new duping glitch, but I can't use it for what I was hoping for in Tears of the Kingdom. What's the new glitch and why can't you use it? It's not the Tobio's Hollow one, right? So here's the skull. Ow. I have a purple tablet, right? Yes, I do. Really? Get back in my thing before it kills me. Where is he? God, I hate these fuckers, honestly. Come on. Ew, I hate their eyes. I hate the zap. Like, he won't stop zapping me, which makes my vehicle stop working. I need to get over to that door. There's a second one? Oh wow, there's a shit ton of them. Amazing. Yeah, I see you. I see you. Thank you. Piss off, please. Actually, piss off, please. Alright, I need to make it in here before they zap me a second time. The screech is spooky, I know. I'm inserting the tablet. Wait, is this a different tablet? This is an orange tablet? Wait, where do I get orange tablets from? I have a purple one. Oh, interesting.
Emergency power only. Oxygen production offline.
I don't know what to do now. Like, I don't know where to get orange tablets from.
Seek fluid intake immediately.
Do I have to go back to the other thing?
Vital signs.
Spawn orange
stabilizing.
tablets. Okay. Okay. Where do I get the orange tablets from? The Xbox World had a huge console command debate for getting the achievements. Really? I feel like using console commands to unlock achievements is cheating, but I've also played enough Bethesda games to know that sometimes they're just not gonna unlock even if you did them. Where's my prawn suit? Over there, okay. Okay, there's a warper there. Alright, so these are like the balloons. Okay. No! Oh, thank God. Okay, good. God, why are there so many of them? Why are there so many? Why are there so many warpers over here?
A titanium mass somewhere in this area. Unable to confirm whether it originated on the Aurora.
That's new. That's different. I've never gotten that, that warning before. Caves. So this is cave structure or something over here. A titanium mass. That has to be a building, right? Alright, I have to get out really quick and repair. I'm getting beat up over here. Are you ever minding your business and you think it's a stupid question? Yes. What is your stupid question? Can bees burp? Probably not. Like, they probably don't need to expel gases the same way we do, you know? Small detail, baby. As a huge Xbox achievements, and I need to get back on that horse. I think that's one nagging me. I have a bunch of stuff I need to complete. I don't mind forced gameplay at times. Ooh, I see. God damn. Leave me alone. How do I get in here? Here. I just want this guy to leave me alone, please. Alright. Alright. God, that scared me. Oh, I hate this game! I hate this game so much.
Integrating new PDA data.
There's really nothing else in here? There's a bunch of booze in here. Wait, wasn't there up? Really? Wasn't even bothering you. Minding my own damn business. How do I get up? Wait, can I not get up? I don't think I can get up. Okay, hold on. Hold on. They have two stomachs, so maybe it's, but apparently no one else has asked Google. Really? I did this contest at the beginning of the year. Put me into a huge negative completion called a bean drive. It was a ton of fun, but I started to get the first achievement. What is that? A bean dive. You're the first person to ever Google this. I'm confused. I'm confused. Like, where, how do I get up to the rest of this thing? And also, I would really like this guy to go away. I'm gonna run out of oxygen while I'm trapped in here. I can't get up, though? Like, really? Jesus Christ, Amara. Fuck, he's right there.
Your health is low.
I know. Okay. Okay, we're in. No, don't warp me. Please don't warp me. I just figured out how to get in here. Okay, perfect. Here we go. Okay.
Integrating new PDA data.
Thank you for my oxygen. Because I am running low. Please don't warp me. I'm literally here. I'm like right where I need to be. Please, I beg. Oh my god, please go. Like slow. Just a little bit. There we go. Okay. Alright, what's in here? Okay, can't search any of that. Pick up sample. Pick up microscope. Non-functional. Okay. Orange tablet. Let's go.
Integrating new PDA data.
All right, so I've got an orange tablet, so I can go back in that room. Where was the room? I don't fucking know. Okay. Back up. And then we go out. Where? Here? Yep, okay. All right, now, now, he did, look it. Fucker actually destroyed my ship. Look. I have no ship. Wow, okay. That sucks. A lot. I'm probably gonna die. I got 9. Yeah, I'm gonna die. I need to get up. I need oxygen. Alright. Yeah, I'm not gonna make it. Oh my god. Thank you for opening the PDA. That does nothing for me. Thank you. Come here, let me scan you. Come here, you're sick. Let me scan you. Can't. Okay, cool. I saw Laws give me oxygen and it didn't work. So that's a problem. Stop! I'm literally gonna die! That doesn't help me! Fucking trolls! Thank you. I have not been in here all yet. Well, now I feel bad. No, you don't. No, you don't. No, you don't. Don't lie. No, you don't. No, you don't. Don't act like that. Don't act like that. You did it twice. You don't feel bad. You did it. Don't act like that. Oh, sorry. I was using my points to troll you, which is exactly what they're for. No, you're not sorry. All right. There's nothing else in here other than that. Run! I'm gonna fucking turn it off! You don't feel bad! Seriously! Well, because you said I didn't, but now no, you don't feel bad. You literally don't feel bad. If you felt bad, you wouldn't have done it when I was dying. That's fine. That's literally what the points are for, but don't fucking lie to me. Don't fucking lie to me. You guys are using your points to troll. That's what they're for. Don't lie about it. Own up to it. Own up to your trolling. Like, don't fucking lie about it. Come on. We're all adults here. I'm using my points to make your game difficult, Krista. Say it. Say the words. Say the words. Oh yeah, this is pointless. There's no oxygen in here anyway. I'm gonna die.
Emergency power only. Oxygen production
die.
offline.
Alright. Alright, how am I gonna get out of here? How am I going to get out of here? I'm gonna get a knife and take out the brain eyeball screeching bastard. Yeah, I hate him. He's an asshole. Using my points because I hate having coins. Right, but see, here's the thing, Raven. Here's the thing, Raven. You guys have these points, which is fine. You earned them. That's fine. You have points. But you have a choice of using them to help me or using them to open my PDA while I'm dying and annoy me. And you made a choice to do what? What was your choice? So I don't want to hear it. I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die. I'm just gonna die. It's whatever. I can't get up and get oxygen fast enough.
30 seconds.
You're... Oh, thank you for oxygen. That's at least one thing that I can help. She told me to stop trolling you. Your wife sounds like a smart lady. Listen. I don't care. Like, at the end of the day, It's just a game. I'm having, as long as you guys are having fun, like, I don't care. Like, I'm not going to, like, stop using the extension because you guys pissed me off a couple times. Like, no, like, I'm still gonna be a good sport about it, whatever. But don't act like you're not fucking trolling me. Like, don't act like that. Don't act like that. Like, the first time, the people who come into stream who have never spoken, still do not speak, have never said a word, have never participated in the stream, have never done anything in the stream whatsoever, but are coming in and using troll redeems on crowd control. Like, I fucking see you. Like, I see you. And move along. Move along to the next crowd control person that you control. I can imagine your wife, at least it's not a save death loop. I can imagine your wife heard you laughing. I was like, what are you doing? Nah, sound is on as she heard. She heard me actually scream, Raven! That's too funny. I just, like I said, just own up to it. That's all I'm asking. Just own up to it. Just own up to it. Don't give me this, I feel bad, because you don't feel bad. If you're gonna be a troll, just live up to it. That's all I ask. That's all I ask.
Seek fluid intake.
I have to make another... We have to make Johnny Deep 2. Thank you so much for the follow. I can't believe you followed after I was complaining about all of that. I did feel bad. Johnny Deeper. It is Ozakyo. Hopefully I said that. Hello, hi, welcome in. The first one was funny, but the second, I wasn't expecting their reaction because I was dying, Raven. I was dying. It would have been different, but I was dying. What is the depth? What is death but just a second opportunity? Well, you're not wrong. Well, you're not wrong. Oza, are you a Subnautica fan?
Vital signs.
Okay, I need to eat some food. Let's eat all my chips.
Vital signs stabilizing.
I'm afraid if Pink dies, she's taking you with her. I am. I take everybody. I promise I won't troll. No, listen. I'm just saying, I just want you to own it. That's all. That's all. I just want you to own it. If you're gonna be a troll, then be a troll. Don't be like, oh, oopsies, hee hee, I feel bad, hee hee. The channel point one's working. They should be. If they're not working, I can like do it again. Try one of them. I'll wait. I'll stand still and I'll wait. Cause I saw it come in. You're totally a Subnautica fan? That's amazing. First off, I can't get my voice that high. It doesn't look like it's coming through. Okay, so let's do this. Okay, so we'll stop this session. Okay, I will save really quick. Nobody do any crowd control for just a second. Not that it's a major deal. No, but I want them to work. You know? Alright. Quit. Yes. Okay. And start session. And launch game. Okay. Okay. Can I say spoilers? No, you cannot say spoilers. I'd like a refund for my PDA opens. No. No. How do I control to? Once the game is loaded, which it will be in just a minute, there's an extension that goes over the screen, and you earn points by hanging out in chat, and then you can spend your points.
You look like you could use some coffee.
Okay. So now somebody can try a channel point redeem to make sure they work before we move on, and we'll be good to go. Does anyone want to try one for me? No? Okay. We will go on then, and hopefully they work, since no one will confirm. Alright, so let's put this stuff away in here. Oh, this one. This one. Yep, it worked that time. Perfect. Is my husband being mean to you? Listen, your husband just wants to act like he's so innocent. He's so innocent. Irish Caitlin, hello, welcome in. Alright, some of this can go here. What do I need the cubes for? Other than... So I opened that one room that I would need to go into. This... What these things do, they say what they do, Oza. So like they will fill my food and my water. They can feed my oxygen. Some of them will teleport me to different places of the map. Some of them will kill all of the enemies in the area. They all say what they do when you click on them. Okay. Oh, my radio is beeping. You have an idea? Great. I'm not worried at all. Cooldown? Yeah, some of them are gonna be on cooldown.
This is Life Pod 2, coordinates attached. We're way past our safe depth and bleeding O2. We'll have to swim for the surface, but it's 500 meters straight up.
Okay.
We'll make for the rendezvous and keep you posted. Out.
Hey girl, hey! Hi, Hui.
Uploaded to PDA.
Hi, Fubbles. Other Fubbles. I forgot that's you. Okay, so now we can go check that lifeboat. Wait, I need to make another... What you call it? Because we need to make another Johnny. Why? Why are you trolling me? You drink wine with soda? Johnny Depp is Johnny Dead. Hey, too soon. Too soon! Crafted roulette. What you got? What you got? What you got? Some glass? That's what's up. Actually didn't taste like trash. Wait, so you did it at the same time? How do I click them? You click it and then there's another button that says to, like, it either says redeem or something like that. So you click it and it says what it does, and then there should be another green button that says like to submit it or to send it or something like that. So like it should look like this. No, not that. It should look like this. So when you click on it, so you click on it and then you see right here the green button that says order, and then you click on it and then it does it. It's very easy. Cooldowns? Yes, there's going to be cooldowns. That's how it works. See in the bottom corner, the cooldown? There's gonna be a cooldown. You just have to either pick something else or you just gotta wait. I don't actually control the crowd control. It's a third-party extension. All right. Aya. All right. Power cell. Okay. Lead, power cell, glass, lubricant. Okay. Hi, driver. Pine cone. We can pine cone. You guys are making me go 1,000,000 miles an hour today. That's what you're doing. Okay. Pine cone. I'm gonna turn my camera off for just a moment so I can adjust my chair and my posture because I'm a little uncomfortable. Driver, how you doing? How's the day? Right, let me, I'm so uncomfortable. Okay, there we go, comfortable. Then let's grab our pine cone. Let's grab our pine cone, thank you. Throw that in there, thank you. Played a bunch of League. We should have a pine cone emote. There's really not a pine cone emote? That's crazy. There we go, okay. Okay, there we go. I really should save my points. Your channel points or your crowd control points, because you're not going to save your crowd control points. All right, I've got power cell. Titanium ingot. Do I have any? I think I do. I think I have some ingots here. I do. All right. 2 glass. Okay. A lubricant. Don't CC. I don't. Do they? Per game? Per, like, you mean per time I refresh the game? What do you mean? What do you mean? What does it mean? Alright, are we going for Johnny Depp 2? Or are we going for a different name? I have 50 points since they haven't accrued since last session. Listen, I don't control crowd control. What's the name of Ariel's fork? The Dingle Hopper? That's the new sub name, the Dingle Hopper. I know, but Johnny Depp was so good.
Welcome aboard, Captain.
You're talking about the freebie coins? I probably don't reset that frequently to prevent easy coins. Yeah, I know that they do, like, they do reset every so often because, like, they want people to be able to still redeem stuff, but not, like, crazy. Alright. Hopper. Okay. I'm confused about the red coins. Red means you just don't have enough. Oh, there you go. Oh, I need to make storage upgrades and depth upgrades and stuff again. Damn. Damn. Alright, we got a lot of stuff to do. Hold on.
Online.
Storage module, and then I need our depth module. Okay. I'm legitimately so annoyed that those fucking octopus blew up my Where though? Is it inside? I saw the thing come up. Oh yeah, it is inside. Okay. I thought you were saving your points. You're not doing a very good job at saving your points. Da, 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 da. Da, da. Shit! Oh, yeah, I can, okay. Ooh, I was like, I don't have enough glass. But I can make glass. Saving my channel points for Tonin. Well, luckily channel points are different than crowd control points. Alright. This sucks. 1, 2, 3. And then I need 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay. I gotta go out. What time is it? 10, 10. Perfect. We should see if we can get our other sea moth that's over by the Aurora when Trem blew up the Aurora and I got stuck. Remember, my other sea moth is there? So I'm wondering if we can get it or if it's like actually stuck. Okay. Magnetite, enamel glass, and plasteel ingot. I don't think I can make plasteel ingot right now. Yeah, I can. I can't make enameled glass though, because I don't have enough quartz. How many enameled glass do I need? All right, I need 1 enamel glass. Okay, I can do this. Okay, I can do this. Magnetite is here. 2 of those. And then a plasteel ingot, which I just said is this, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then 2 lithiums. Oh my god, stop! Okay, plasteel ingot. Okay, so that's our depth 1. And then I need to do another plasteel ingot because I need to do another depth for depth 2. Gonna play some Outer Worlds. Enjoy. I need to replay that. I need to replay it. I think you've inspired me to replay Outer Worlds. I just have too many games right now going. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I want to play more games in the sense that, like, I want to play more stuff simultaneously, like, if that makes sense. Like, I wish, like, I could be like, Monday is this day, and Wednesday will be this day, and Friday will be this day, but I just play whatever I feel like playing whenever I feel like playing it. Oh, I didn't, Laws. Thank you for saying it again. Basically, I was trying to dupe some fairies to see how many it would take to get through the boss rush in the endgame, but I think the 1.2.0 might have removed certain dupe methods. What dupe were you trying to do? Because the only one that I actually used in any capacity whatsoever was the Tobio's Hollow one with the multi-shot bow. I didn't do the paraglider glitch or any of the other stuff, like, when it was around. Okay. What do I need for all of this stuff? Alright, so I have that. Ultra glide fins. Try to fins, okay. Wirelessly charges your held tool while you swim. Yes, yeah, the ultra glides, okay. Prawn depth. See, I need kyanite. Where's kyanite? Alright, so let's go put this on. Let's go put this on Dinglehopper. And then let's go to this other thing here. You haven't updated? Oh, you're lucky. I have all my stuff on auto update because I'm a chump. And I also don't... I try not to take advantage of glitches or dupes or exploits. Like, I genuinely make an effort to, like, play things the way that they're supposed to be played, but it's whatever. It's called Dinglehopper. It is! Right now, the only one I'm using is a new one for the new update, which is easier but slower than the paraglider one. Easier but slower. I just hate that I enjoy games so much, I don't want to stream it anymore. Like, why pigeonhole myself to a game if I need to cram it into... Yeah, or cram it into just... Yeah. That's why, like... I've really been... Like, I've really just been enjoying playing Fallout off screen. You know, I've been playing Icarus off stream. I'm playing Diablo off stream. Like, I've actually really been enjoying having off stream games, which is something that I didn't normally do. Like, I had a lot of content guilt where, like, I would feel guilty that I was playing something and not making it into content. And it burns me out really quickly. And it started making me feel guilty about playing games with, like, my friends, or, like, if I didn't feel good and I didn't feel like streaming, and, like, what if I wanted to play Subnautica tonight, but I didn't feel like streaming? Like, I would feel guilty. Like, I got out of that. I got out of that real quickly, you know? I usually don't use exploits either, but in this challenge mode I was working. So I was not sure there's any glitches I could have been for fairies, and I think about it. Yeah, because fairies you can't drop because they fly away. You can't drop them. Which makes it hard. I wonder if that's what I'm doing a little. I finished T4 yesterday on stream. I'm super happy. Made a good friend too, so I can take the bad with the good. Oh, did somebody come into your S word? And you made a new friend, or somebody else? In their inventory, they don't fly, but could be wrong. I don't know. One of Dirge's mods, Zenith? Is it Zenith? Because, yeah, Zenith plays Diablo. Okay. I already have to repair. Zenith is chill, yeah. Some people, like, literally just, like, if you play the same game as me, like, we're friends, period. There you go. What the? Oh, he touched me. No, no. Oh, there's so many. Damn it, damn it, damn it, damn it. Move, 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 move. Fuck, 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 fuck. I need him to go because I can't just keep breaking my ships. Alright, he's over there. There's one there. Nope, 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 nope. Come on, stop breaking my shit! Fuck, how am I gonna do this? Alright, what if I just, like... Is this where my popular friend streams? Are you talking about Raven? That's so Raven. Please don't break ship. I know, I'm... Please, please, please leave me alone, please.
New blueprint acquired.
Please leave me alone, please, sir, please. Please leave me alone, please, sir, please, sir, please. Can I go in this life pod, though? Or is there just something outside? I'm gonna catch up with chat in just a minute, guys, I promise. I can't get in here, can I? Yeah, you can, because there's a thing in here. Here it is. Okay, there it is. Okay.
Integrating new PDA data.
Okay, let me catch up with chat. Wait, is Rosef here? Because I have a very important question for you, and I'm fighting with them. Rosef, I don't think so. Rosef said this is a penis game, and I disagree, and I think this is a vagina game. Thoughts? I have seen the penises that Rosef is referring to. I've seen them. I have not seen any vajayjays, I have to say. I can show you the penises if you would like. I know where they are. But I can't say I've seen any vajayjays here. Where are the vajayjays? There are very many chahasms. I will agree with you there. There are many chahasms in here. So is every vajayj a chahasm? Or is every chahasm a vajayj? It's like the square rectangle thing, isn't it? Maybe Dirk just added... Everything's a vagina, it's true. I like to think of mine as a Mariana's Trench. Part of me wants to ask for, like, you to expand on that, but the other part of me never wants to mention that it ever happened. I don't think you can expand on the Mariana's Trench. I mean, very true. I just meant expand on the claim is really more what I meant. Like, explain your claim. Wait, did Laz kill those things when that happened? Can those die? Because Laz did kill all bad things. Can those things actually die? Because that's huge. I can only kill one because I did kill bad things and one went away. Oh. You did one and Laz did one, and now there's nothing. Look at it. Not sure if it worked or not. Yeah, I don't see the zappy boys anymore. Expand on the clam. Expand your clam. Guys, you guys are silly gooses. You guys are such silly little gooses. What's here? No more ungodly screeches. I think the screeches might be the warpers, and I did see a warper somewhere. We still have zappies, but zappies are just zappy. They're not aggressive. That's your stream froze, but it was my spectrum. It actually wasn't my spectrum this one time. Isn't that insane? This one single time, it was not my spectrum. Ew, what are you? I don't like your screechy noises. Alright, there's a ghost Leviathan over there. He's bugging. Look at him. Look at him. Look at him. Look at him. His body's all twisted. Oh, he figured it out. Okay, he figured it out. Alright, so here's Lost River. There's our prawn. I hate Spectrum. I'm surprised between both of us I can even watch you. I know. Spectrum, don't say that too loud though. Spectrum will be like, wait, that's probably a good point. You've had so many arguments lately. Why? Are you just being argumentative? I don't want to like scan these fuckers because I don't want to get too close, but blood crawler. I hate the name. Directly with they've been effing around with my speed. Yeah, Spectrum sucks. Spectrum sucks. Like, I can't even tell you how many streams I've had to cancel just because Spectrum has been like, nah, I don't feel like interneting today. You okay there, friendo? Auntie put fiber in my neighborhood, something about switching. I hate Xfinity. I want fiber. I'm trying to convince my mom to go with fiber, but you know, it's an investment, you know. It's an investment down, and that's what people are nervous about. It's so loud. Why? I'll never get back here. I'll never find my way back here. Oh, it's hot down here. It's 50 something Celsius. Oh, am I getting close to like the lava bed or whatever? Oh, thank you. Who was this? Thank you. Thank you, Laz. Thank you, thank you, thank you. That was huge. Okay, so...
Welcome aboard, Captain.
Raven, thank you for the tooth sound. What's this? Okay, so this is alien stuff here. Following alien lights. I found something.
This alien structure appears to have collapsed to the sea floor.
Where do you
Detecting
go
an
in?
alien broadcast. Linguistic analysis reads, caution, hazardous materials and life forms contained within.
Hazardous materials and life forms contained within. And I'm gonna bet it wants me to go in here. Where's the entrance, though?
Seek fluid intake.
Oh, no. We don't have water, champs. Thank you, Aya. Oh my god, it's gonna break my ship while I'm in here. No, get out. No, get out, get out, get out, get out. I need to fix my ship. I need to fix my ship. Where's the entrance? Like, where do you go in here? Oh my god, I need to fix my ship. I need to fix my ship. I need to fix my ship. Charlie one fell asleep laying against my butt. Now I can't get up. Nope, you live here now. Can I run? Oh, sorry. I'm so sorry, Raven. Can I run a thought by you? D4 streamer toward ARPG variety streamer. I have said before, I don't like niching. I don't think that it's smart. I would never suggest or encourage or support somebody niching down unless it's what they honestly wanted to do, and it's not just about numbers, if that makes sense. Okay. So, yes and no.
Section are substantially reinforced, indicating the designers were seeking either to keep something out or contain it within. Whatever their intention, it clearly failed.
I have a purple tablet. Perfect. Don't lock yourself into something and then be exactly. That's why I'm like, I'll never encourage somebody to niche down unless it's like what they actually truly wanted, you know?
Integrating new PDA data.
So if that's what you want to do because it's what you enjoy, and you know, you're like, I want to play only this because it's what I enjoy, then I say go for it. But I personally, I don't think niching down is really what anybody needs to do.
Integrating
and that's just my opinion.
PDA data.
That's just my opinion. You asked for my opinion, and my opinion is don't put yourself in a hole that you will have trouble getting out of later, you know?
Seek fluid intake immediately.
Can somebody... I need food and water. Shit. I have no water. Alright, I need to get a fish or something. Hold on. Is there any of these water fishes in here? Of course, there's not gonna be any of these in here, are there?
Biological evidence suggests
Thank you, Laz.
life forms were brought
That's
to this
actually
location
really
and
helpful, thank
subjected
you.
to intensive study. Data pertaining to the bacterium is being downloaded. Caution. Detecting atypical fluctuations in blood plasma proteins. A self-scan is strongly advised. Self-scan complete. Bacterial infection has spread to the skin and pulmonary system. Medical report recorded to databank. It is imperative you find a way to neutralize the infection.
How? Okay, I have officially gotten further than I did last time. I'm gonna run out of oxygen while I'm exploring. Alright, let's get out of here. Let's get out of here. Can I make it back? I think I can make it back to my... Well, if I can find it. There we go. Okay. Okay. So, now, I have to think for a second. Damn, I'm catching all the... I hated that. I know. Breakfast? Yes, breakfast is food and water. It's person to person on that shit. Exactly. My boy Alex sets a week schedule and that's it. Yeah, I can't do that. I can't do that because I can sit down and be like, I don't want to do this anymore, you know? All right, let's catch up to what we've got going on now. Okay. Residual. Subject. Okay. Interior walls. Okay. Data returning to the bacteriums being downloaded. Caution checking. Okay. Bacterial infection spread to the skin and pulmonary system. Medical report reported to data bank. Okay, so how do I heal myself? Data bank. Salvage further alien research data on a possible vaccine. Investigate the mechanisms which have enabled the indigenous ecosystem to inhabit the symptoms of the infection. Sea dragon egg. This large egg is held. Sea dragon. Sea dragon, these nuts. Alright, so... was there more in here? Okay, so... I did this one already. Yeah, I did this. I got that. I came in here. I got all this. I got all this. I got all this. Okay. So... there's literally nowhere else to go in here. Yeah, there's nowhere else in here. I went in here, I got this. Okay, okay, so... how do I cure this infection here? I don't think this is scannable. Heal from the green dot thing. That's what I'm thinking. I don't know. I don't know how to... that's the infection. Like, that's like the game. That's like... that's part of the game, and I don't... like, you have to heal yourself, and you have to be pure before you can leave the island. Could turn on market myself. I get 0 engagement from Twitter on live. Everybody gets 0, and I get next to 0. The only people who are engaging in my I'm live posts are people who are already here, people who are watching. You know, like, nobody gets engagement on those posts until you're huge. Like, just in the nicest way, Raven. Like, please take this with a grain of salt. Stop focusing on the wrong shit. Stop focusing on the wrong stuff. Just have a good time doing what you're doing, and everything else will come in time. Like, you're focusing on the wrong stuff. You're trying to think of yourself as like a package to sell, and that's not how it works. That's not how it works.
Welcome aboard, Captain.
It is further in the story. Oh, Laz. Wait a second. Wait a second, Laz. Have you played Subnautica this entire time? I didn't know. There's a story, there is a story in this game. Isn't that wild? And Raven, I don't want to... That doesn't mean, like, don't think about those things. That doesn't mean, like, don't let the creativity flow, and if you have ideas, embrace the ideas. But when I say you're focusing on the wrong things, I mean, you know, you've asked several times, like, should I niche down? Should I do this? Should I do that? And my answer is always going to be the same. My answer is always going to be, just be yourself. Be yourself. Play what you like to play. You know, like, you're a great guy. You're a really, really, really nice guy. You'll find people. You just can't rush it. Very little of it. I only because I now watched YouTube. Oh, okay, okay, okay. I thought it was all dick mushrooms. I know. I have to show Dirge the dick mushrooms. I gotta show them. I am so very far away from home. Like, I don't even know. Look at where home is. Home is so far. Home is so far away. We're deeper than my prawn suit. Home is wherever I'm with you, whenever I'm with you. It's like creepy as hell down here. Ooh, Raven getting some coins. Where did you move it? Oh my god. Okay, it's hot. I see. Oh my god, I can't drive like this. I'm not a streamer, but definitely Twitter isn't a great place to try and advertise in general. And going into a niche might help, but make sure you very clearly state it's not something you'd be on 100% of the time. And make sure you're doing stuff you actually enjoy rather than playing something that gets old and makes you hate streaming. Exactly. Laz, yeah, you nailed it. You completely nailed it. Like, if you enjoy, like, I could, realistically, I could niche down into survival craft. And I could play Subnautica, and I could play Valheim and Minecraft. Like, I could do it. I could niche down and I could do it, but my heart wouldn't be in it. You know what I mean? Like, there'd be so much more that I would want, and like a new game would come out and I would be like, oh, I can't play this game, it's not in my niche. Like, I don't know. Streaming is so hard and it's so complicated, and it really doesn't need to be as complicated as it is. Like, it's It's a lot of stress. Oh, there's the Ghost Leviathan. Okay. Lately, it seems like TikTok is the best place to promote streams. Not that I know how to use it. I did, yeah. Everyone will tell you TikTok is the best. Everyone will tell you it's all TikTok, it's all this, it's all that. I didn't have much luck with TikTok. But again, it's a lot of the same. It's getting discovered, getting lucky, you know, getting your one viral video. Like, I couldn't even hit 1,000 followers on TikTok, and I took TikTok very seriously for months. There would be nights where I would stay up till the sun came up. Literally, the sun would come up, and I would still be filming and editing TikToks. Like, when I say I fucking tried the TikTok thing, I tried it. I tried everything that they tell you to do. I've tried it, okay? And I don't know. Maybe I'm not supposed to be a streamer. Maybe maybe this isn't supposed to be my career, and it's just supposed to be something fun that I do. And, you know, people watch me from time to time. Like, if that's what it is, then that's what it is, you know? It's where I met a lot of people in the follow. I mean, it's good to network. See, the thing about Twitter is it's good to network with people, but it's not good to network in terms of making connections. Luke sent me. Hi, Blake. How you doing? Thank you so much for the raid. How was your Smash Brothers? What's going on? How's things, friends? How you doing? Let me get let me ascend a little bit here and chat with raiders. How's everyone doing? Thank you so much for the raid. How we doing? We won. Let's go. Let's go. The Lost River already. I'm guessing you've met a few certain someones. If you're talking about the warpers, or if you're talking about those fucking squids, yes, yes. I'm very, very, very infected. Yeah. I'm scared. I'm scared. Yeah. What's up, Nexel? How you doing? We won a crew battle thanks to Scrub, the goat, and everyone else that played. That's what's up. Let me get out of here. We go. I'm out of the blood kelp forest now. We're a little bit more safe. We can chat now. Let me get my bearings. There we go. All right. Welcome in, raiders. How's everyone doing? Welcome, welcome, welcome. If you do not know who I am, hello, hi, welcome in. My name is Krista, or Pinksoul. Most people just call me Pink. I am a variety streamer, and I play a little bit of everything, ranging from things like Lego games, Nintendo games, simulators, shooters, survival games, and everything in between. I must take my leave. Thank you for your stream and your time. Scrub, have a great night. Thanks for popping in on that raid. I appreciate it. But I do have a very, very quick raid video that I like to show. I kind of like to think of it just like when you go to the movies and there's like a little movie trailer that you see before the main feature. Just kind of think of it like that. But I hope you guys enjoy, and I will see you in just a moment. Hi there, friends. Are you a human being with disgusting bodily functions? They can't know we're like this until they're here. I'm sorry that you didn't get to experience the butts. This is what heroes look like. You can't do anything with human meat, which is kind of boring. Why did you hold it like that? Why are you looking so close?
I wasn't. I just looked down and I can see it.
Look at that donk. Put your clothes on. What if you just like collected a bunch of farts? What have I done? Are you pooping? I can't stream in these conditions. I have poopies for you. That won't and can't go wrong. Don't give me that baby. Oh my gosh, my monitor. He's still rolling.
Yeet.
I was already out. That was for the smell. I'm trying to make the poop.
Chaos, come watch us.
I'm trying to make sure we don't die.
I'm a big girl. I do Mordors. I keep finding these boners. Maybe let's not say those things on my stream. Oh my hot dogs! What is happening?
There's a deep rib.
What is this?
Deep rib.
We home. Name every year in the 80s. I couldn't make this up if I tried. I don't want to fight in the poo. where would Clucky's butthole be? You know, like these are the important questions. How do I know so much of Umbop? You did not just Umbop me.
Oh, we can play Jenga?
Yeah, I could play Shenga. Shenga? Go, bees! I just want to be beautiful like her. Is it working? I am cat, I can help you. He's totally dead. He's just standing there. Just because I was supposed to move him. What this? Oh, I look like the kid from Stranger Things. You could go anywhere on Twitch, and this is what you choose to do with your time.
You're like, yeah, then you're like, yeah.
Blake, thank you so much for the raid. I appreciate it. Why did your hair look so nice when you combed it with a book? Because clearly that's what you're supposed to do. Didn't you see the NPC in the background? But I did go back and I did catch up with the couple messages that came through before the raid. And I do agree with Dirge, Raven, that it's like you gotta be one or the other, like funny or knowledgeable or good at the game. I don't know. But yeah. Just don't think about it too hard. And everybody who's out there who's streaming and you're stressing about getting your name out there and who you're gonna be as a streamer, just don't stress it too hard. Just don't stress it too hard. You know, like at the end of the day, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. But yes, Nexel, we've had plenty of Reapers, plenty of ghost Leviathans. The, what are they called? The crab squids? I don't know. I call them zappy boys. I call everything not what they're supposed to be called. So, welcome to my stream. Nothing is what it's supposed to be called. Welcome to my stream where nothing makes sense and everything's wrong. So, unfortunately, I had the best name. We had Johnny Depth. But the fucking Zappy Boys blew it up while I was looking at something, and I was pissed. I had to swim all the way back. Those fuckers. Do I have mushrooms? I don't have my mushrooms on me. It's a lot of finding your strengths and weaknesses, and that's the last bit we need to say. No, but, like, I honestly, like, I don't mind talking about it. I really don't mind talking about it, but there is a point where you're like, I can't help you if you don't want to be helped, if that makes sense, you know? EMPs? Yeah. That makes sense. All right, let me get... Hi, DJ. DJ, we have done so much today. DJ, you missed so much. We are making excellent progress. It's a good thing you're here, too, because I am not really sure where to go from here. I'm gonna plant some more stuff. Let me see. No, well, I know. Was that the first time you went to the Lost River? No. So this playthrough is, I think it was just under 20 hours. I think it was just under 20 hours when we started today. I've been playing for a couple weeks. I've been playing for like 2 weeks. This is actually, let me clarify. This is my second first playthrough of Subnautica. I started Subnautica last year when it was on Game Pass. And they pulled it off of Game Pass before I finished it. So I never got a chance to finish it. I never got a chance. Did somebody just put their name down? Aya, is this you? My goodness. So I never got to finish it. So I just like gave in and I ended up buying it on Steam because I wanted to finish it. I just never got around to it. So this is a brand new playthrough on Steam, and I have finally, I've passed my progress the last time. So now we are further than I was the first time. So now this is all new now. I did find the teleporter. Yep. So, okay. So I can catch everybody up. So last night, I found the life pod for the like the VIP passenger, and he had the code for the captain's quarters. So I went back to the Aurora and I went into the captain's quarters and I got the plans for the Neptune launch pad, I think. And then I came back home, and then I've gone and I did like 2 or 3 more life pods today. I went back to Gun Island and I turned on the teleporter. I went back to the Lost River and I found the big Degassi building that had the tablet in it. So I went into the room with the orange tablet and I got that data. And then I found the big sunken alien building that has like all of like the experiments in it. And I got the purple tablet in there and I opened that door and now I'm like super infected. So that's where we're at right now. So I don't want spoilers, just to clarify. I don't want spoilers. I don't want help. But now I'm at the point where I have to cure my infection, and I don't know where to go. So that's where we're at, and we're gonna figure it out from here. So we're gonna figure it out. All right, I gotta put all my shit away. And I've got something on the radio to listen to after. You guys have dropped so many beacons in my house. See, I didn't know that. I didn't know that that was a thing. It's all good. It's even... I didn't say I didn't want to be helped. Just I don't know why I'm overthinking it. It's a personal issue. I'm sorry if I'm sounding like a broken record. No. You're not... It's like... And I feel like I kind of came off insensitive when that was not my intention. But, like, I've been doing this for 3 years, and I've seen so many of my friends who wanted to stream burn themselves out because they just focus on the wrong things. And I just don't want to see another one of my streamer friends burn out because they can't get out of their own way. That's all. I would never spoil what comes after this game. It's so good. Easily one of my favorite creative survival games. I love survival craft games. They are my bread and butter, my favorite. I can just zone out and go mining and building for hours on end, literally. Second only to Space Engineers. Space Engineers, it's so... Is that your... That's what you would say is your favorite survival craft game? I can't say I've played that one. There's a lot out there that I haven't played, but there's also a lot that I have played. Like, for example, my favorite survival craft game is actually one that, like, nobody plays. My favorite survival craft game is actually Icarus. And I feel like nobody plays it. I need to take this salt out. I need to put the salt somewhere else. I need to charge this batteries. Alright, I gotta put this power cell in here. I know it's charged, but it's whatever. For this. Nope, I hit the wrong button. This and this. Okay. So those are all charged. Alright, my eye. What do I do with these? Don't you make... Wait, don't you make purple tablets with the... I thought can't you make purple tablets? Do I not have it unlocked yet? Can we try to make the big boy? Ugh. I actually hate the Cyclops. I'm not gonna lie. I actually hate how it drives. But yeah, we can make the Cyclops. There's no map. Stop hitting M, you dummy. I feel like... Hold on, let me think for a second. Do we have to go... Do we have to go back to Gun Island? Well, we have to go back to Gun Island after we're cured because the shut-off button is there. So where... Don't answer this. Nobody answer this. Nobody answer this. But... like, where would I... logically, like, where would I be going next? Oh, wait, let me listen to the radio. Let me listen to the radio. You need an iron cube and a diamond to make a purple tablet. I know the crafting recipe. Yeah, I just don't have it yet. I don't have the blueprint yet. That's what I was gonna say. I thought that I got it last time, so I must have missed it somewhere. Because I'm pretty sure in my last playthrough, I have it. So I have to find that. Alright. Did you not scan it? When you were in the experiment area, you read a data bank? I did them, though. Orange tablet. Alien facility location. Disease research facility. Okay, cave system with extensive fossil records. Southwest. $1,200 meters. Cave system with extensive fossil records. Southwest of enforcement platform. Did you not scan it before? I thought I did. I must not have, though. I really thought I scanned it. That's probably why I have it in the last one and not this one. See, that's what sucks, because I've technically played it twice, but I haven't finished it. So sometimes I get confused of like what I've done in which playthrough. But so this disease research facility isn't where I'm supposed to be going. It would show you scan the purple tablet. So I don't think I did. Yeah. Also, Zoro, hopefully I said that right. Welcome in. Hello. Okay, so... advanced theories. Race, species. Yeah, symptoms of infection. Okay, that's fine. So, alien data, artifacts, scan data, alien vent, ion cube. See, I have the orange tablet, but I don't have the purple tablet, so... that's probably why. Terminal data. Specimen research data. Yeah, see, it's gotta be... internal mechanism, symptoms, stage 1, gravel immune system, green skin lesions of the... So I'm on stage 2 right now. Green skin lesions. Okay. So it has to be... yeah, it's just like it's gotta be over there. Go deeper. It's literally the point. But that, like, okay, again, I don't want to be told, but the thing is like, I don't know, like, where I'm supposed to be looking for things. So, like, I can just go out and I can swim and I can just look forever, but, like, where do I look is what I'm basically, like, that's where I'm kind of stuck right now. But I think I'm going to try to find where this is. Where did I just find this? How did I find this a second ago? Codes and clues. Yeah, I think here, because I can't go there. I can't go 1200 yet. I can only go 900. I'll probably need the Cyclops. And I'll probably need the Cyclops depth module 900 bajillion. All right, Chris, I'm so excited. I figured it all out. The hard part is not giving you a direction to go in, because that'll tell you what to do. I know. I know. I think you're under duress with the sea creature trying to kill you and it slipped your mind. That's also probably true as well. I did play a little bit, but I ended up stopping. Since I'm a scary Minecraft. Yeah, it does. It's scary Minecraft. The hard part, not giving you direction, because that'll tell you what to do. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So. I can go back to the... No, okay. Let's focus on one thing at a time. Let's unpin these, because I don't need these. Let's make our Cyclops. Here we go. And then we need our depth module, which I can make. Okay. And then... Do I have depth module too? I don't think I do. Oh, I do. I have both. I can make that. I can't make this because I don't have kyanite yet. So I can make up to 2. Okay, there we go. Here's our plan. All right, enameled glass. Oh, I need to finish emptying. Hold on, I need to finish emptying my SEMA. I'm gonna sell out, changing my name to Nuka Shadow Legends. I hate it, even though I know you're joking. I absolutely hate it. I hate everything about it. Do you have the prawn suit? I do. I do. Mm-hmm.
Welcome aboard,
I do.
Captain.
It's it's over there. So here's a funny story. I have crowd control on. Okay. I have crowd control on, and somebody redeemed to fucking teleport me while I was in my prawn suit all the way over there. Raven? So there's my prawn suit. And here I am. Here. And there's my prawn suit there. And here I am. Here. Because somebody thought it would be funny to teleport me to the other side of the map while I got out of my prawn suit. So yes, I do have one. I do have one. And I don't want to talk about it. Yeah, he's in the Lost River. Yeah. 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 It's okay, though. It's fine. It's fine. We'll go get him eventually. We'll go get him eventually. But yes, I do have a prawn suit. Thank you very much. Thank you for asking. I don't want to talk about it. Can you just keep No, because it'll put me everywhere. Like, it'll put me everywhere. Like, I don't, like, there's no place to, like, tell where the teleport will put me. That's the problem. Is that it won't tell me where the teleport will go. Like, need it? Yeah. He's down. I'll just have to go down to the Lost River and get him. It's fine. That's what crowd control's for, guys. For you guys to do super fun things. Need my brain breaks? You're an awesome person. I'll never hold a grudge. Thanks. Thanks for not holding a grudge, because I do feel like sometimes I get a little tough on my friends when they ask for streaming advice, because I'm like, just fucking do it. Just do it. Like, you don't need to think, just do it. Stop trying to be me, because you're not gonna be me, and just do it. Like, it's not hard, just do it. Just do it! I'm like Shia LaBeouf. I like the personality. That's honestly, like, that's like the nicest shit that somebody could say. I like your personality. Alright. Hello? Where you going? What? Is Is he actually in here? I think he's actually in the base. I can't. Oh, we have a pet. Amazing. Oh, look at our pet. What are we gonna name him? I think we should name him Frank. He reminds me of a Frank. What are you doing? Stay still. Frank, what are you doing? Shellcock. He swam through a wall? Yeah, we have a friend. Remember Alexa told us that we're sad and that we need a friend? Well, now we have one. Good job, Subnautica Alexa. You did it. We have a friend now. All right, focus. Focus. All right, I need 3 plasteel ingots. Holy shit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, I have to make all these. Is that the only friend you'll get? Yeah, no, I have some, whatchamacallits in the other room. Some hatched pals. Okay. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. 1 more of these. And then I need, is it 2? Is it 2 per? It's 2 lithium per, so 6 lithium. Do I have 6 lithium? Oh, I do. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. Alright, that's 1 plasteel. That's 2 plasteels. Not too personal, but I will. My friend group consists of a lot of passive people that go with the flow. My manager, who's my age, completely... Get out! Get out, Frank! What are you doing? I'm afraid to leave. I'm afraid to leave. I'm afraid if we leave that we're gonna lose Frank. Yes, Nexel, please resist. You've already said quite a lot. Alright. Here? Ooh, is it an advanced? It's an advanced, isn't it? Shit. At least it's stuff you already know. Yeah. For the most part. For the most part. I didn't know about the disease center, though. Oh, a computer chip? Okay, hold on. Computer chip? I do. Look at me. Actually, like, being prepared. And then 2 gold. Okay, easy. This one. Okay. I thought you knew. No, I didn't know. Nope. I didn't even know. This is the furthest I've gotten in this game. Like, I've passed my previous playthrough, so like I'm literally just figuring it out now. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so we've got that. I need 2 more plasteel ingots because I'll need 1 for each depth module as well. Okay. And then 3 rubies. Okay. So let's go do this first. Frank, if I don't see you, it's been fun. All right, am I gonna be able to... No, I think I have to move. I think I have to move this. Just a smidge. Just a smidge. Nope, crap, there we go. Okay. Just a smidge. To like over like here. I think this is probably deep enough. Okay, let's see. Is this deep enough? Yeah, should be good. Yeah, I think so. Alright, there's our Cyclops. Blind playthrough section minus, of course, having some. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, this is all just like I don't know anything after this. I know nothing after this. So now there's not going to be any like, wait, how do I? Because all of this is new now. The big boy. All right. I do feel like this should be Johnny Depp. Like, let's be real here. Wait, how do I, how do I customize it? And do I still customize it in the Moon Bay? You're still searching for the last piece? The last piece of the Cyclops? Of the Cyclops? Frank! He's here! Oh, Frank! Hi, Frank, I'm home! Searching for the last Cyclops piece is horrible. They just seem to they do. I actually had a really hard time finding the battery charger, honestly. Which was kind of a bummer because I was like, the battery charger is like so close to the beginning of the game and I had such a hard time finding it. What if you reload? I heart Frank too. I'm afraid to reload the game. Stream never ends, guys. Stream never ends. Frank. All right, what did I come back home to do? Oh yeah, oh yeah. I'm building my other stuff. I am Titanium. Thank you, DJ. Oh, DJ, did I tell you? So after I finish Subnautica, because actually I could probably do it now and it would be whatever. So, but after I finish Subnautica, I'm going to add, to my hydrate redeem the Subnautica Alexa going, seek fluid intake. I'm gonna add that to my hydrate redeem. In a stretch. Yes, please. Yes, we're gonna. XR, thank you so much for the raid! What'd you play? Nothing like Altera telling you to drink some water. Some subby naughty? How's the Subnautica going, XR? Thank you so much for the raid. How's the Subnautica treating you? Wait, did I do 3? I did 3 on accident. It's fine. It's fine. 2. It's fine. You are fully built out. Amazing. So you did all your upgrades and all that jazz. Wait, hold on. What am I missing? Oh, I'm doing this wrong. Hold on. That was silly of me. It's 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go. That was just a brain fart there for a second. Hi, I've been Lurky. How do? Going after your next stream. Oh, nice. Very nice. Very nice. Is it your first time playing? The Cure. The Cure. That's what I was like, I figured you were maybe saying that. I am not quite there yet. I just got to the alien research facility and now I'm all green and gooey and gross. Brosid, how you do? Are you feeling any better? What if you had killed Frank, Aya? Frank's not aggressive though. But welcome in, welcome in. Thank you so much for the raid. I appreciate it. If you don't know who I am, hello, hi, welcome. My name is Krista, or Pink Soul. Most people just call me Pink. Also, if anybody else is lurking and you're kind of like, what's going on? Hello, hi, I am a variety streamer. I play a little bit of everything, ranging from Lego games, Nintendo games, simulators, shooters, survival games, and everything in between. I call you Blue. It's yeah, some people call me lots of strange things. There is one person who comes in and he calls me a different color every single time he comes in. But anyway, I do have a very quick video that I like to show when we get a raid, just to see like what the community's about, what the channel's about, what to expect, all that good stuff. So for any of the raiders, anybody lurking, anybody hanging out, I hope you guys enjoy. Hi there, friend. Are you a human being with disgusting bodily functions? They can't know we're like this until they're here. I'm sorry that you didn't get to experience the bus. This is what heroes look like. You can't do anything with human meat, which is kind of boring. Why did you hold it like that? Why are you looking so close?
I wasn't. I just looked down and I can see it.
Look at that donk. Put your clothes on. What if you just like collected a bunch of farts? What have I done? Are you pooping? I can't stream in these conditions. I have poopies for you. That won't and can't go wrong. Don't give me that baby. Oh my gosh, my mom. He's still rolling.
Yeet.
No. I was already out. That was for the smell. I'm trying to make the poop.
Chaos, come watch us.
I'm trying to make sure we don't die.
I'm a big girl. I do Mordors. I keep finding these boners. Maybe let's not say those things on my stream.
Oh my
hot dogs. What is happening?
There's a deep rib.
What is this?
Deep rib.
Home. We home. Name every year in the 80s. I couldn't make this up if I tried. I don't want to fight in the poo. Where would Klefki's butthole be? You know, like these are the important questions. How do I know so much of Umbop? You did not just Umbop me.
Oh, we can play Jenga?
Yeah, I could play Shenga. Shenga? Go, bees! I just want to be beautiful like her. Is it working? I am cat, I can help you. He's totally dead. He's just standing there. Just because I was supposed to move him. What did? Oh. I look like the kid from Stranger Things. You can go anywhere on Twitch, and this is what you choose to do with your time.
You're like, yeah, then you're like, yeah.
Oh my goodness. XR, thank you so much for the raid. I appreciate it. Okay, so we are at... Oh, we have to build our depth modules now. Okay. Wait, so... Oh, I make it on the Cyclops? Love you. Well, can't stick around. I'm trying to support how I can. Oh, no problem, Franklin. No problem. I hope that you're doing well. And you know that I appreciate it. And you never have to be here if you can't. Love your face. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I can't stick around. No, you're good, Franklin. You're good.
Welcome aboard.
You know that I never expect any of you to be here. You know. Okay. So, you make prawn upgrades. I'm sorry, Cyclops upgrades here. And then I have to take it out and go to the fucking modification station. There's probably a faster way to get out of here, but whatever. Can't see anything. There we go. It's so sad. I have to scoot back home. Wait, I can put I can put the dingle hopper in the Cyclops, right? God, I hate driving the Cyclops. You guys are gonna make fun of me so bad because I'm literally the worst Cyclops driver on the planet. Okay, what else do I have for... Oh, I need this. 2 aerogels and 2 peepees. 2 aerogels. This one? 2 of those. Okay. Scans the train outside the Cyclops and displays it on a 3D map in the cockpit, rendering it invulnerable. Cycles heat by product to increase engine efficiency. I don't know what any of this means. Cyclops Bridge blueprint. Oh no, you need all these pieces to build that. Like you need all these, right? Right? Okay, let me just reassess my brain for a second here. I know I need the fire suppression shit because I remember from last time that that's just annoying. So I want that because that's just annoying. But I have those, okay. Alexa, I am busy. I will have coffee. Would you like your PDA open right now? Actually, could you please? Please? My hands are full. Could you please? I want to really X my CMOD. She freaking plows me over while I'm escaping a Leviathan. No shit, right? Sometimes the game really, like, is not my friend.
Signs stabilizing.
There, okay, Alexa, chill the fuck out. I'm busy. I'm busy. Alright, so I have the fire suppression stuff. And then I need... So what if I do fire, sonar, and shield? Or efficiency? Extension bugged out. Interesting. Coffee? I didn't know that. Yeah, there's a coffee machine. So you're supposed to Q and E to tilt and spin. Oh, I didn't read that one. I didn't read that one. Alright, so I have that one for sure. Do I want the sonar? I feel like I want the sonar. Alright. A chip. Do I have... Frank. I have a chip and 3 magnetites? 2, 3. Okay, let's go build those before I forget. There's a vending machine too. Yeah, I have the vending machine, yeah. Gonna lurk now. Burning day, like for... What? Burning day for Tau? Oh, I don't know what that means. I feel silly. I don't know what that means. Wait, where's like... Isn't there another entrance in the back? Is it up top? There's a second entrance, right? Yeah, maybe not. Whatever. Oh, I went too far. I was like, hello? Can you... Thank you. I've pressed E like 4 times. The outer worlds. The outer worlds. Okay. Fuck. God, I hate... I'm already stressing out just looking at it. Like, I'm already stressing out just literally looking at it. Oh, I can put 6 upgrades in it. Mo, how dare you? I don't even have to look. You're playing Skyrim, aren't you? Hey, Mo. Hi, friend. Hey, how was your stream? Thank you so much for the raid. Hey there. Hi there. How was Scrim today? How is the Scrimstrim today? Alright, so that's that. Okay. Decoy landing tube, that's fine. Engine efficiency, shield. Alright, so I'm gonna do the engine efficiency and the shield next. Pin. Okay, actually I lied. I'm gonna unpin all, and then I'm gonna pin these. This one and this one. Okay. Whoo, progress. That's right, stream kept crashing, so I stopped a little early. Oh, that's a bummer. Oh, I didn't even realize it's 11:30. We're getting close to... Oh, no vehicle docked. Okay. We're getting close to needing to call it ourselves. So I probably won't even take this guy on a voyage tonight, honestly. Honestly, because we got Stuff to do. Okay, so fire suppression. Okay. I don't remember how to do this. On? Yes, off. Okay. Okay. Oh, here we go. This is what we're doing. Click to edit. Submarine name is okay. Oh, I clicked because I oh my god, who put a thing in here? I didn't mean that one. I think I meant this one. This one. Yeah, I think I have this one. Okay. Because there should be, what, the sonar in here? No, this side, this side, this side, this side, this side, this side. Yeah, I've got sonar and fire. Okay, so it's the other two. Okay, I'm being dumb. Alright, so let's finish craft. So that's what we'll do. That's how we'll finish the night. We'll finish crafting all this stuff. And then on Wednesday, we will take our maiden voyage. And we will go... What am I doing? I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing. How's Craft Control been treating you? Not so bad. Not so bad. I'm not gonna lie. There has been a couple trolls. I've had a couple people teleport me, like, after I've gotten, like, to my destination, traveling, you know, 500 million years. You know, there have been a couple instances where I'm like, all right, chat, like... You're screwing me over, but so far it really hasn't been bad. And I feel terrible. I didn't do raid stuff. I'm so sorry. Mo, thank you so much for the raid. Thank you very much for trusting me with your community. I know that you said that you ended a little early, but thank you very much for choosing me anyway. You know who I am. Hello, hi, raiders. Welcome in. In mine, I want to head down my prawn suit to Lost River and beyond. Nice. Nice. Yes, I want to go beyond, but I could only go 900. So far, and it's high 700s, low 800s down there, so I was like, I need to prepare. But anyways, welcome in, raiders. Thank you for being here. If you don't know who I am, which I know you all do, and I know you just saw this, anyways, welcome in. I'm Krista, or Pinksoul. Most people just call me Pink, or Pinks if you want to be fancy, or Pinky if you want to be silly. I don't know, people call me anyway. I'm a variety streamer. I play everything. Nintendo games, Lego games, simulators, shooters, a shit ton of survival games. It's mostly a lot of survival games, if I'm being honest with you. 2 times video, here it is. 2 times video. I hope you guys enjoy. Hi there, friends. Are you a human being with disgusting bodily functions? They can't know we're like this until they're here. I'm sorry that you didn't get to experience the butts. This is what heroes look like. You can't do anything with human meat, which is kind of boring. Why did you hold it like that? Why are you looking so close?
I wasn't. I just looked down and I can see it.
Look at that donk. Put your clothes on. What if you just like collected a bunch of farts? What have I done? Are you pooping? I can't stream in these conditions. I have poopies for you. That won't and can't go wrong. Don't give me that baby. Oh my gosh, my monitor. He's still rolling.
Yeet.
No. I was already out. That was for the smell. I'm trying to make the poop.
Yes, come watch us.
I'm trying to make sure we don't die.
I'm a big girl. I do Mordors. I keep finding these boners. Maybe let's not say those things on my stream.
Oh my hot dogs. What is happening?
There's a deep rib.
Oh, what is this?
Deep rib.
Ho-ho, we home. Name every year in the 80s. I couldn't make this up if I tried. I don't want to fight in the poo. Where would Klefki's butthole be? You know, like these are the important questions. How do I know so much of Umbop? You did not just Umbop me.
I would play Yenga.
Yeah, I could play Shenga. Shenga. Go, bees! I just want to be beautiful like her. Is it working? I am Cat, I can help you. He's totally dead. He's just standing there. Just because I was supposed to move him. What did? Oh. I look like the kid from Stranger Things. You can go anywhere on Twitch, and this is what you choose to do with your time.
You're like, yeah. Then you're like, yeah.
Mo, thank you so much for the raid. I appreciate it. Always good to see you. I'm really happy to see you streaming consistently again. It makes me happy to see my friends doing stuff they love. Okay, putting all this away. I don't need that ingot. Okay. I've got both of these liquids. Hi, Frank. So I've got... No, I don't have 2 of those. Okay, how do I make the polyethylene? Is it? So hydrochloric acid and gold makes this green stuff? Polyaniline. Okay, cool. Do I have any of my mushrooms growing? I think I've got some deep shrooms, but let's see if mine are grown. Not enough, really. All right, let's go here. Excuse me. I don't know why suddenly. My throat is all itchy. Probably because I've been talking for 3 hours straight. All right, mushrooms here. Yes. All right, it's 2 deep shrooms and 3 deep shrooms and salt. 3. Okay, hydrochloric acid. Excuse me. I don't know why. Into weird goop. Science. Gonna get going. Have a good night. Good night, Raven. Good night. Good night. All right, and then gold. 1 gold. 1 gold. Okay. Thanks for the help. You're welcome, Raven. You know you can message me anytime. You know where I am. All right, so I've got that and that. I don't think I have any more chips, or I don't. Okay. I need to make a computer chip. 2 corals. Put corals in the other room. 2 table corals, wiring kit in... Or wire and gold, okay. I'll not to enter the... What? On poop? I don't know, man. Oh my gosh. The intro's not about poop. Come on. Everything else in the video is about poop. That was actually about peeing, because peeing is disgusting. No, we have a joke on my stream that all my viewers leave when I pee. It's not a very funny joke. I admit it's not a very funny joke, but that's where it comes from. That's where it comes from. Okay, computer chip. Oh my god, why am I so itchy? Let's make another computer chip. There's no... So if I'm leaving, are you peeing right now? You'll never know. One streamer got more videos using a literal plank of wood in place of her. It was sad. I make jokes all the time about how my streams where I have no camera on do better. Where's my... Oh my god, stop. This one. Thank you. Okay, so I can make a... What you call it now? There we go. Viewers, I'm gonna be a VTuber. Listen, VTubing is like... is huge now. What do you mean? Alright, a wiring kit See, I knew I needed an extra. I knew it. Okay, I was smart. All right, 2 silvers. Okay, we are almost done. We're almost done. There we go. There we go. Okay. Now, these are modification station? No, they are Cyclops station. Okay. Okay, bye forever. Goodbye forever. Goodbye forever until next time. We're actually this is probably gonna be it for the night anyway. Gonna craft these, install them, and then that should be it. Because I don't wanna like get into another, like I don't wanna start something at 11:45 at night.
Welcome aboard, Captain. All
Welcome
systems online.
I like Alexa better. Can you do the Alexa voice, please? Okay, now. What would I need? What would I need another thing for? That is Alexa? I don't know what you're talking about. Oh, sorry. No, it's Alex A. Sorry. It's Alex. Alex A. Alright, so there's one more slot, but... Do I not have all of the things? Oh, the decoy tube. The decoy tube. That's what it is. The decoy tube. Okay. So, let's make a couple more batteries before we go as well. Who is this? Is this Aya? It is Aya. Okay. Hiya, Aya. All right. Okay. I have to like remember where everything is, and then I can put my what you call it in here, my diggle hopper. Well, my Cyclops big boy should be enough for some time. Yeah. Is your mobile base for sure? Yeah. I'm just so bad at driving it. Like, I'm so bad at driving it. And you can't go through tight spaces like you can with the Scooty Madooty. You can live, I know. I'll have to, there's a crafting thing in there, right? All right, so I want to make, I have H, okay. All right, I think I'm gonna make like 2 or 3 batteries. How come she won't talk to us anymore? She only talked to us that one time. Oh yeah, mushrooms and copper. Okay. Easy enough. Ooh, radio's got some news for us. Mushrooms. I have some growing in my garden right there, and I don't want to pick them. I know that there's some under my house. PDA messages are one-time only, sadly. Yeah. Alright, let's listen to... Excuse me. Let's listen to our radio. I should probably move the radio, but it's fine.
Welcome aboard, Captain.
Playing partially translated broadcast.
Destroyed. Mode. Patrol. New targets unaccounted for. 1.
Me? Me? Is it me? Unaccounted for? Moi?
Seek fluid intake.
2, 3, 4, 5. Alexa, I am very busy. How much metal and lead? Nexel, welcome to my stream. I'm a hoarder. I'm a hoarder. I can show you my inventory and you can see I have a problem. I have a really bad problem. Like I am a hoarder. And then these 3 are titanium. And then I've got, oh, an empty one. And then this should be electronics, yeah. Yeah, I have a bit of a problem. It's fine. I don't talk about it. It's fine. 5, reload. Okay. Reload. I'm just gonna charge everything because there's no point not to, right? What else? None of these need to be, okay. Let's go get a battery. Charge. DJ, thank you for feeding me. I was about to go get some, but thank you very much. All right. And then I should take 1, 2, 3. I have 6. All right. So I need to make 1 more power cell. Power cell is, yes. Wait, 2 batteries and then silicone rubber. Here. Every time. Always off by 1. Okay, we've got 1 more power cell. Perfect. I heard stuff too, but not that much. Yeah, it's a problem in literally every game that I play. Well, it's not a problem because resources. But yeah. Yeah. If you stick around and you see me play some survival games, you will see. you will see. Okay, let's put these mushrooms away. I don't really need, see, I need to get back those. All right, that's fine. I'll put all that into the bioreactor. Let's put these away here. Let's drink that, even though I didn't really need to. That was stupid. I need to get some fish. That's what I need to get. I need to cook some fisheroonskis. Hi, friends. Are there bubble tree seeds and nuclear reactor rods? I actually don't have a lot of nuclear reactor rods. I think I've made 2. But I think I've got 2. Yeah. Yeah. So slacking, and I'm slacking in that front there for sure. Okay. Fish. I need 8 fishes. 8 fishes to use up my salt. Over here. Yum 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 yum. Yum yum fishes. Some of these I'll turn into water as well. Even though I should just make a bunch of, fuck. Is bleach mushrooms or coral? Coral, okay. I couldn't remember. I depend on yeah, the thermal is the only one I haven't made the thermal yet because I haven't really invested. I just started building. See, there's a base down there in the river. I just started it. Like it's a piece and a door. Like there's nothing else down there. There's nothing else in there. But I'm probably gonna use thermal power down there. All right, let's make some bleach, which will make some water. All right, so we'll do 4 of those. A stalker freaking takes a chunk out of you and just played it off like a silent part. It's fine. They like to do that. They're feisty. They're a little feisty. Stalkers be doing stalker stuff. Off to sleep. Thanks for letting me lurk. Of course, Zaz. Always good to see you, my friend. I hope to see you this weekend for the big 3 years. 3 years. Stalkers be overactive pup. They really, really try really hard. They try their hardest. Sleep well. Yes, good night, Zaz. We are... Honestly, I'm just gonna craft a bunch of stuff and then we're calling it. We're not hanging too much later, so you're not missing anything. You're not missing anything. Okay. Just make a couple of these to get rid of these bladderfish. Okay. Okay. Filtered, disinfected. Ooh, I should... I guess it really doesn't matter. Doesn't matter which is which. I know these are health packs and it's not water, but, you know. Life is life here, guys. Okay, so then I've got these guys to cook. So... Okay. Yeah, I was gonna put them in the reactor, but I'll put them away. It's fine. All right, then we've got coral here. No, this one. Yeah. Okay. Cool. So we are in a good place. Is it blinking? Not blinking. All right, we are in a good place for Wednesday. Perfect. Okay, so don't forget tomorrow, guys. Tomorrow is a little bonus stream. Tomorrow I have 2 sponsored streams that I have to squeeze in this week. So tomorrow will be a short little 2-hour sponsored stream, and then Thursday we will also have a bonus little short little 2-hour sponsored stream because I have to get those guys done this week. And then more Subnautica on Wednesday. And then Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday is my 3-year anniversary on Twitch, and it's gonna be I'm streaming. It's a streamathon. I'll be here all 4 days. I'm not turning my computer off. The only thing that will stop me from streaming will be my internet. But yeah, so tomorrow, please be here. Even if you're lurking, please be here for the sponsored stream. It would really, really, really mean a lot to me if my sponsored streams go well. I'm not quite sure what time I will start. I want to probably start around 7 or 8, and it'll go about 2 hours. But yeah, let's go find someone to raid. Let's find someone to raid. Always save twice. You always save twice, chat. All right, let's find someone to raid here. Okay. Anybody good? Anybody good? Anybody I don't normally get to raid would be cool. Anybody I don't normally get to raid. I hope you enjoy your night. I'm gonna head out. You too, Nexel. Thank you for swinging on by with that raid. Are we feeling Fortnite? Or are we feeling WoW? Or Dead by Daylight? Fortnite, WoW, or DBD. I would like to raid one of these 3 people. What are we thinking? What are we feeling? DBD? Okay. I'll do my best to be here for tomorrow's stream. Thank you. Like I said, even if you just hang for a lurk, it would be really, really, really great. All right. We are going to raid Tats and Cats. I have not had the chance to raid them before. I've seen them on Twitter, but I haven't had the chance to give them a raid. So let's show up in full force and give them lots of love, okay? Thanks, guys. And yeah, lots of streams coming up this week. You guys are gonna get sick of me, but I hope to see you guys soon. And let's give Tats and Cats some love and some hype and all that stuff. And I will see you guys tomorrow. Tomorrow.